Caution is out for Martin Truex, blown engine. Note among the leaders who did not come to pit road, Kevin Harvick.
I don't like this. I don't think that was a good move.
Steve.
Scott Riggs in the 10 car said his car has gotten a little bit too tight. Let's go to Matt.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. says, just give me more of the same what you did last time. Air pressure adjustment. Looks like Jr. will win the battle off pit road. More track bar adjustment also for Denny Hamlin. He was too tight in center. Dick?
It was Todd Berrier's decision to leave Happy Harvick out on the racetrack. He just told me they did not think they could make it on fuel, so they left him out there all by himself.
But Dick, it has nothing to do with being able to make it on fuel. It has to do with having 25 laps on your tires, and now everyone else on the lead lap has brand new tires.
And here's why we're under caution. Martin Truex was puffing smoke from the middle of the corner out, and then finally something grenaded in the tracker boats #1. Now, remember what happened to his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. last week at Talladega? Spun, rotated backwards, and then blew the engine. Is this the same song, second verse?
Remember, Larry, I said, let's that thing up against the rev limiter. Remember, you said, yeah, he's just holding it wide open, which he was. Got to have something to do with it. I don't care what you say.
Now, Richie Gilmore with DEI did come forward this week and say that the engine failure was not due to the motor spinning backwards when Dale Earnhardt Jr. spun out. We've seen this other times. I talked to Chad Canals, Jimmy Johnson's crew chief. He said it happened to them in Indy a couple of years ago. As we're looking at Todd Berrier, there's Chad Canals there. We'll see just how good that 29 car is, because he's the only car on the lead lap that did not pit.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say is I don't understand this strategy, Larry. I mean, we said it's their race to lose. I'm not so sure they didn't just take a big chance right here.
Late in the race.
With Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, let's check on the KFC race summary with 110 laps to go. You see 4 different leaders, 9 lead changes, and Kevin Harvick has dominated a career high laps led so far, and he has clinched the lap leader bonus this evening. By the way, the last Richmond win by Richard Childress Racing back in '91, Dale Earnhardt. Of course, Kevin Harvick trying to hang on for Childress here.
And another thing I'll tell you about Kevin Harvick, he has led the most laps 5 times in his career, but he's only got 1 win out of that, and it was back in Chicago in 2001. So he's going to have his hands full here today.
Next weekend, NASCAR moves to Darlington. Our coverage on Friday. Busch and Nextel Cup Series qualifying on Speed. Nextel Cup practice and Busch Series racing presented by Yamaha on FX. And next Saturday, begin with NASCAR Race Day on Speed and the Dodge Charger 500 on Fox. And then NASCAR Victory Lane wrapping up the entire weekend as our coverage of NASCAR continuing next weekend across the Fox networks. Racing from Darlington Saturday night. So the night racing continues on Mother's Day weekend, and we're getting ready to go green, so let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Greg Biffle gets the free pass on this caution, Chris. So now 16 cars on the lead lap. They're in the outside lane as we get set to go with 108 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, who did not pit, leads the field around to green.
But you know what, Larry, I'm just looking at the rundown. There's some guys we haven't talked much about that are creeping up toward the top 10 now. Guys that are having great runs. Elliott Sadler's there in 8th place. Hadn't said much about him all night.
Yeah, he was one of the cars that got a free pass to get back on the lead lap not that many cautions ago.
And he, like Denny Hamlin, would give anything in the world to win a race at Richmond.
Riding with Riggs. And there's Sadler, the Pirates of the Caribbean paint job on his Robert Yates Ford for M&M's.
That's a movie, isn't it, Larry?
Yes, it is. Movie comes out, I think, in July. Now, we're riding with Joe Nemechek in the Army car right now. Joe 2 laps down back in 28th. Kevin Harvick has stepped it on out on Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 as he's having to hold off Kyle Busch in that 5. That is a battle for position. Now, the 26 car of Jamie McMurray, the first car a lap down back in 17th.
Yeah, that's what's holding Junior up. They had to get around to McMurray. Once they do, I think that those new tires, they're going to march right around Harvick. I don't care how good you are.
Now, what Kevin Harvick needs, he needs about a 20 to 25 lap run here, because that way if the caution comes out, we know he'll come to pit road and probably everyone will follow him. If we get one here right away, he's going to have to pit and some of those guys may stay out.
Well, Todd Berrier may be thinking about last night's race, in which cars that stopped fairly late and got fresh tires were able to bust back up through and contend for the win, including Harvick's teammate Jeff Burton.
But the problem is Kevin Harvick has set such a torrid pace. We have so many cars a lap down. If you restart back in 12th, it'll be like restarting in 24th with all those lap down cars. Not many cars on the lead lap.
I really think that was the start of Jimmy Johnson's problems, Larry. He made a late stop, started back at the rear of the field about 30th, and couldn't go anywhere and got lapped.
Kyle Busch in this 5 car really giving a battle to this 8 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. But while these guys are going side by side, that little black dot back there is getting bigger and bigger, and that black dot is Denny Hamlin in that 11 car. Kevin Harvick in the 29 car, if he can run like he's running that right now on 25 laps more on his tires, you better believe it's Katie to bar the door for most of these guys.
Yeah, but he's gonna have diminishing value. These other guys are gonna have improving value.
And we heard Todd Berrier say they cannot make it to the end should we stay green.
But Harvick, along with Dale Earnhardt Jr., are still the 2 fastest cars on the racetrack.
Well, he's only, what, 25 laps?
to go, 1-0-0.
25 laps on your tires, you're getting the best out of them right now you're going to get. The next 25, they're going to maybe hold their own, and then that next 25, they're going to go backwards.
Because they were able to cool down just a little bit on that caution.
And that car's not sliding around. Now, that's one thing about it. It's hooked up. And that's getting the maximum out of your tires.
Comes Ryan Newman around the outside of Dave Blaney in the 22. And look at where the Childress cars sit. Last night they were 1-2. Harvick and Burton with a good run for Boyer. And they're all 3 in the top 10 right now. There you ride with Jeff Burton, who's in a kind of a bubble by himself. Nobody ahead, nobody behind. Harvick the leader, Earnhardt second, and Kyle Busch, who finished 4th in both Richmond races in 2005, looking at 2nd place. 90 to go in the Crown Royal 400 as you look at defending series champ Tony Stewart, just ahead of Jamie McMurray. Stewart is 6th. Kevin Harvick is our leader. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch continue to race for 2nd place. Denny Hamlin closing in 4th. Then Burton, Stewart, Newman, Labonte, Boyer, and Mark Martin the top 10. There are 16 cars on the lead lap. The first car 1 lap down is Sterling Marlin, and the next is the low Chevy Jimmy Johnson.
Now, I speak of the magic wand that these crew chiefs, some of them have in their toolbox. They must have used it on the old 48 car because she looks a lot better than she did early on.
But I'm going to tell you, the problem is, we talked about Sterling Marlin in that 14 car a little earlier. He did go a lap down on that last green run, but Sterling has an awfully good car. I think it's going to be a tall order for Jimmy Johnson to catch Sterling to be the first car lap down, at least right now. There's Sterling right there in the waste management car.
Well, like we were saying, Larry, how many times have we seen the 48 crowd struggle, have trouble early in the race, middle of the race, late in the race, they find themselves in a position, get the lucky dog, get another caution, finish in the top 10.
Many times.
Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, 9th place here, 9 seconds behind the leader.
And Mark Martin has definitely fought his way back. About 100 laps ago, we had cars getting into scheduled green flag stops. Mark was one of the 3 Roush cars to hit pit road, but heads up, before he got to his pit box, the caution came out. He drove through pit road, did not stop, stayed on the lead lap, and he has fought his way back from being at the rear of the field.
Much like Phoenix, had an issue in the pits, had a lug nut loose, had to come back to pit road, restarted about 30th, and had to drive himself. Have to drive really, really hard to get back to the front.
Now, 2 drivers you expected to run well here. Matt Kenseth had problems when a brake rotor broke and went through the oil tank. He's back on track 49 laps down. And Jeff Gordon is back in the race after solving whatever caused that engine to quit running. 75 laps in the garage, but Gordon is also back on track. Only 3 cars are out of the race: Truex, LePage, and Cope. Kyle Busch had been battling hard at Dale Earnhardt Jr., but now he's about to drift back into the clutches of Denny Hamlin. We listened in.
That 29 is unbelievable. I cannot believe that. That is some good stuff.
No doubt that 29 is Kevin Harvick, and Dick, he has a half-second lead. It's shrinking.
Kyle Busch started in the 21st position tonight, and when he began this race, the car was not good at all. Loose in, loose off, no rear grip on lap 175. Lap 225, tight in the center. Lap 250, concerns about brakes, but right now they are in the 3rd position. I talked to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, who said they have gotten the car better and better all night long. And after our conversation, I started down the box. Gustafson grabbed hold of my arm, and he said, when you go back on the air, you be sure and tell everybody that my crew took that car from 7th to 3rd on the last pit stop.
Thanks, Dick.
Got to race, boys. Got to race.
We got to race for the lead.
Those old tires are right at that point where they're going to start backing up.
Yeah, because, Darrell, it's been 30 laps since that last caution when Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 and the other leaders changed tires. And right now, Kevin Harvick is approaching the 50 to 60 lap mark on his tires.
And Harvick's lap times have gone from 22:30s to 22:60s. 0.3 of a second might not seem like a lot, but on this racetrack, it'll bring those cars right to you and maybe by you.
And where it's going to be tough on Kevin Harvick, they're not that far from catching the tail of the field. It's going to be harder to maneuver on those older tires, regardless of how fast you are.
I think it's just a few laps here, and Junior will drive right by him. He's just got so much more grip. He's doing to Harvick what Harvick's done to everybody else all night, but now Harvick's at a big, big disadvantage. You look at that. He's got 3 cars ready to pounce right on him.
But, Darrell, we've seen that Junior's car has worked better on the outside of the racetrack. He's trying to pass Harvick on the inside.
Well, he should be able to, like I said, but then look who's right here in the picture. I mean, we got these guys all over each other.
We got 4 cars. It looks like the Busch race last night. You got Kyle Busch in the 5, Denny Hamlin in the 11.
And the 31 car is right there closing quickly.
We've got 110,000 people here, and basically with 77 laps to go, all of them are standing up, especially with that Budweiser car up there.
Kyle Busch thinks this is his house. Finished top 5 in both races last year and got his first career Busch Series win right here, May of 04.
I think Junior just decided he can't get by Harvick. Let somebody else try.
That somebody is Kyle Busch.
Yeah, as long as Harvick can keep these guys pinned on the bottom like he is, without, you just about got to rough him up to get by him.
Speaking of roughing up, about 5 laps ago, Tony Stewart moved Jimmy Johnson aside, not for position, but just to go on by and have a chance to challenge the top 5.
Riding with Jeff Burton here in the 31 car, and I would say for the first time tonight, probably Kevin Harvick, the 29 car leader, he would love to see a caution. He needs tires and he needs fuel not that many laps from now.
And he needs not to run out of laps there. There's only 74 to go in the Crown Royal 400.